Some weeks ago, I was asked if I could make a FAQ, frequently asked questions, for a website. The purpose of a FAQ is to display a set of questions and answers and to let the visitor ask his own questions too. As there were no limitations regarding the tech stack I could use for that purpose, I decided to go for an uncommon one. Let me go a little bit in detail here. So I used HTMX for the front end because I was curious about that library. I really appreciate the philosophy behind this technology. It reminds me of the good old days of jQuery and JavaScript before the first of modern JavaScript frameworks. Unfortunately, we won't look at every aspect of HTMX, but we will. It will be a good introduction to some main use cases and some specific ones too. C++, I know C++ has a very pesky reputation these days. It's not the first language you might think about in this context, but with a good set of libraries, I wanted to show you that it could be a good choice for this use case. Google Spreadsheets. So Google Spreadsheets is an interesting collaborative tool that can act as a database for this case. We will see how to use a Google API in order to read and write from and to a spreadsheet. Deployment in production. We will see how to deploy this solution behind a HTMX proxy, reverse proxy, with and without Docker. As bonuses, we will see some SQLite to handle the requests, the database, instead of Google Spreadsheets. We will see also some hot reload solutions to ease the development process. So let's talk about HTMX. According to its website, HTMX gives you access to modern web browser features directly in HTML using tags attributes. So let's see an example. As you can see, you can add some special attributes to a button tag to trigger a specific behavior such as HTTP requests and where and how to handle the response. All of that with almost zero JavaScript. C++. We are going to use a modern version of C++, C++20. Why? Because we can, and because I can show you that C++ modern features allows it to be a viable solution for that kind of backend. Because HTMX sends HTTP requests and expects to be written HTML, we are going to need a library that allows us to declare routes and answer with some sort of template engine. So for that purpose, we're going to use Crow and Mustache. We also need some sort of HTTP client, so we are going to use CPP HTTP-lib as a client to call the Google API. And because Google rely on OAuth 2 for authentication, we also need a way to build GWT tokens. So we are going to use GWT C++. Finally, all of those API use JSON structure to send and receive data. So we need a library to handle text to object transformations. So we are going to use Enelman JSON, which is a standard for JSON library in C++. Let's talk about Google Spreadsheets a little bit. So we're going to use Google Spreadsheets as a sort of database. Each row is going to be a question and answer with number and a special column to handle the display of the question. Why? Because it offers a complete collaborative UI to add, remove, and edit questions and answers, and it handles the backend authentication too with a Google account. So it's easier for us. Of course, we could use our own authentication at database too, and we will see that in the bonuses. Deployment. Okay, for production, we will put our program behind an HTMX reverse proxy because the Crow framework is not made to be put on the internet directly, so we need a reverse proxy with HTMX in front. I will show you the minimal configuration to do that. You can use HTMX to handle HTTPS encryption too, so it's interesting, almost compulsory nowadays. Although not our program can be compiled natively for any platform, we will also use Docker to build a Docker image. So I will show you how to write a Docker file for C++ programs. As bonuses, we'll briefly see some SQLite as database and back office to handle the CRUD, which imply using cookies for authentication, which in the HTMX context is quite interesting. So I will show you how to do that. And we will see how to perform hot reload with dlib to ease the development procedure and debugging. For setting up, we are going to need some requirements. I won't be very picky about the tools you can use. Just feel free to use whatever IDE and OS you want. You only need a C++20 compatible compiler with some basic dependencies such as CMake to build the program, OpenSSL, and ASIO to handle cryptographic and I/O in the program. You need a modern web browser. I will be using Firefox. And you need a Google account to create the spreadsheet and to call the Google API. Okay, so now we can go to the terminal and let's do the setting up together. Okay, welcome back to this tutorial. So we are going to use we're going to create firstly our project directory structure. So let's create our project directory. And let's go into that folder. So we're going to create some additional folder. Include. It will contain all of our project HPP files. Lib. It will contain all of our dependencies. We need a static folder for everything related to HTML templates and CSS, fonts, images, and third-party JavaScript libraries. And we create a templates folder for mustache templates. So now that our directory structures is created, we're going to check out some of our dependencies. For that, we will use the git clone command. So you need to install Git for your computer before any steps further. So let's go to the lib folder and let's clone some of the things we need. Okay, now that our libraries are downloaded, some are headers only and some can be installed locally, so like Crow. So we're going to install Crow. For that we have some command to do. Let's do. those commands. And the last one, we need to install the headers. Not that. Great. All right. So then we are going to create our minimal CMake list.txt in the main folder. So let's go back to main folder. Firstly, let's see what should be our directory structure. It should look like something like that. Okay. So let's make our CMake list.txt as minimal project for this kind of backend. Okay. So what's going on here? We set the minimum standard for C++ at C++20. We name our project. We use crow with a find package in order to find everything we need to use crow in our project. We define our include directories such as project source directory lib and project source directory include, so that we can include our dependencies and our own HPP file. We add the main.cpp for the main source code file, and we link our binary to everything we need. Okay, I think we are good. Now let's make a minimal main.cpp. So what's going on in this file? Let's see. So first we include the crow and the crow mustache header files. We declare our main function. We declare our crow application, and we declare a test route, which returns OK. And we start the application on the 18080 port. Now we can compile and run the project. So let's do that. In order to compile, we need to create the make file. So we use CMake for that. It will check if everything is fine and generate the make file. Then we can compile our project. So we do make. It will build the project and create our binary. We can execute. All right. Now let's check what's going on here. Okay, we have a FAQ binary. We can run it. And you should see something like that. All right. Now we're going to check if it works fine. Okay. Let's check if our binary is functioning normally. So we started, and we can do some curl at localhost with the port 18.0.80 and the root is test. And it responds, okay, so everything's fine, you can see. Okay. So now we're going to create our first template. So let's create a minimal template. We call it faq.mustache.html. with the minimal content such as this. Okay, so what are we doing here? So it's a full page. It's a full page. So we are going to use this as a response from a root. Then we were going to have a second root in order to get okay, the response we saw in the previous test. So we use HTMX file stored locally, so we are going to need to download it locally. You could use the version on the internet, the available on the internet, but I prefer the local solution. So I'm going to show you how to download it. So let's go. Let's go to our lib folder. Oh, we need to create it first. So this is the lib folder for our JavaScript libraries. Okay. And let's download the HTMX file. That's good. Now we're going to update our main.cpp. So we need a mustache context. It allows us to populate some variables in the template, and we need that. We also need to load the template, so we use the load function. And the file name as a parameter. Okay. We need to add a second root. So this first root test, it stays on, and we add a second root. So we use the macro root app. We add the root of our web server. Okay. And we need to declare a lambda to handle the request. So let's declare a lambda like this. And we return page.render with the context. So it's not available here, so we need to capture first. Okay. Okay. And we should be good to go. Let's check this out. So let's compile our project and run it. Okay. Now let's go on Firefox. On the port 18080/root. It responds with a button, and the button will call the root test and answer OK. We're good. Very good. As you can see, we have a get on /test. We answered what is expected to us to answer. So everything is just fine, and I think it will end this tutorial for today. I guess we're good to go to the next video.